Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back. I hope you've watched my first video for today, which is the final day of the collaboration with the Inquisitive Farm Wife and Pumpkin Palooza 2025. My first video was my turkey meatballs with a sage and pumpkin sauce, and I've done it with gnocchi that I've browned in brown butter. To wrap up this day and to wrap up this dish as well as the collaboration, we're going to be doing a dark chocolate pumpkin tart. So if you're ready, let's roll up those sleeves, let's get some prep done, and let's get cooking. To start, I've preheated my oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit, which is approximately 218 degrees Celsius. To start, we're going to start with our crust because we're going to get our crust and we're going to bake it for about 10 minutes, allow it to become done, and then we want to pull it out and allow it to cool. But while we're baking our crust, we're going to go ahead and make our filling. However, let's start with dark chocolate crust. So to our bowl with our flour, we're going to be adding in our dark cacao. Now this is unsweetened. It needs to be unsweetened. And my recommendation is to do the dark. This particular one is special dark. However, just standard dark will be fine. To this, we're going to also add in our sugar and then our salt. Get it, and you want to make sure that you give it a good whisk because you want to get everything well incorporated before we add in our final ingredient. So now make a well right in the center, and to that well we're going to add in our melted butter, and we want to give everything a good mix because what we want is something that's kind of crumbly. Make sure you get this all mixed in, and it's gonna, at the end, it will start to kind of get a little bit dry, but that's what we want because this is gonna be our crust, and like I said, we want it to be crumbly. Now I'm trying to do this all with the spatula, not get my hands in there, but I may have to reach my hand in there to finish getting this completely mixed together. But we're gonna try with our spatula first. As you see, what I'm doing is as I'm mixing this, I'm doing a little bit of a chopping motion that helps to incorporate those dry ingredients into that butter. Get all of the dry ingredients off of the edge of my bowl. This is looking fabulous. But we want to make sure that everything is coated. We don't want anything that's left that looks dry. That's what we want. We want this nice, crumbly mixture. So what I'm gonna have is I'm gonna have my video editor, Leo. He is going to zoom into this so you can see that this is nice and crumbly. Next, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna set this aside briefly. And we are going to get our cooking spray. Now this cooking spray does have flour in it. You can utilize a cooking spray with flour or without flour. However, I'm gonna use cooking spray with flour. Now I'm gonna be spraying my 9-inch tart pan. And this tart pan does have the removable bottom. It's really important to have that removable bottom. Also, you're going to need a cookie sheet or baking pan, because what you want to do is you want to make sure that this is placed on this pan just in case you have any drips so it doesn't end up in your oven. So this makes cleanup really, really easy. So remember, you want to make sure that your tart pan is on a baking sheet, cookie sheet, so that if there's some drips, it's caught and it's not transmitted into your oven. Now we're going to put our mixture into our tart pan. So there are a couple of ways to do this. I like to just kind of start with the bottom and to start to press my mixture into the bottom of my pan. Now, you can use a glass. Some people use a glass. I just use my fingers, but you can definitely use a glass, especially when you want to do this outer edge. I then sometimes do switch to a glass to do that outer edge because you want to make sure that you get that mixture really deep into the crevices of your tart pan so you get the nice fluted edge. So now, as I said, I'm gonna get my glass and start to use that to help to get I want to make sure that I get that up the sides, and I will come back and fill in any holes that I create in the bottom. Go ahead and put the rest of that in there. And you want to try to make your edges relatively even. You want to try to not have thin spots. So what I'm doing is I'm using my thumb to press down as I use the glass to push out. So what I just did there is I accidentally hit this side of my crust, so I need to put that back up into place. Now, when you bake this, you may get some bubbles in the center, and that's okay. As it cools, they should go down. And you see what I'm doing is I'm pressing down to try to get this nice and even and compact in my tart pan. Going right around the edge, pushing that in, because I want to make sure that I get a nice clean edge. There, a little bit high, push it down. Okay, so now that we have our tart shell in our pan, we're going to place it into our oven. Remember, that is 425 degrees Fahrenheit, which is approximately 219 degrees Celsius, and we're going to place that into our oven for 10 minutes. Our time is almost up, but so one of my subscribers reached out to me and they asked me, what happened to the bow tie? We really like the bow tie. Therefore, for this double feature for today, Halloween, I decided to bring back the bow tie, and of course, I had to do orange and black, of course, for the celebration of All Hallows Eve. And that means that our 10 minutes is up. Now that our 10 minutes has elapsed, I have removed our tart shell from the oven, and now I'm allowing it to cool. I'm gonna reset my timer for an additional 10 minutes because I want it to cool for at least 10 more minutes. While I'm allowing our tart to rest and cool down, it's time to make our absolutely luscious pumpkin filling. To our pumpkin puree, we're going to be adding in our sweetened condensed milk. And granted, you could make it yourself as I have done in the past. However, for this recipe, the point for this particular recipe is speed. This is a very quick recipe to pull together. Therefore, if you had to make your sweetened condensed milk, it would kind of defeat the purpose of this recipe. Because with this recipe, this is wonderful for company, but it's also wonderful that you could make it on any weeknight. To our bowl, we're gonna be adding in our egg. The large egg, well, let's go ahead and add in our pumpkin pie spice next. So we're gonna add in our pumpkin pie spice, and last but not least, we're gonna add in our salt. I wanna make sure I get all that salt out. Now, salt helps to enhance the flavor. Salt is a flavor enhancer. So I'm gonna just get this, and I am going to make sure that I get this and mix it really well and get this custard nice and smooth. It smells really good. That pumpkin pie spice really helps with that. Now, a note, this is pure pureed pumpkin. If you get pumpkin pie, canned pumpkin, don't add pumpkin pie spice. It'll be too strong because it already has pumpkin pie spice in it. So you just want to get this and mix it. You don't need to over mix it. You just want to make sure that everything is nicely incorporated. So you have your pumpkin pie spice, your sweetened condensed milk, your egg, and your salt. And there you have it. Now, in 10 minutes, we're going to be back and we're going to assemble and then place it into the oven. So when you put your tart in, you're going to lower your temperature, like I said, to 325 Fahrenheit, which is approximately 163 degrees centigrade. Once again, after 10 minutes, you're going to lower your temperature to 163 degrees centigrade, which is 325 degrees Fahrenheit. The reason you're doing that is, number one, you don't want to overcook your custard, and number two, you don't want it to crack. So by lowering the temperature, it helps to prevent cracks. Not telling you it won't crack, but it does help prevent it from cracking. And at that point, you're gonna cook it for an additional 25 to 30 minutes. So 10 minutes at the higher temperature, 25 to 30 minutes at the lower temperature. Our 10 minutes is almost elapsed. However, before we continue, I want to remind everyone to like, subscribe, and share. It really helps the channel. Every time you like, that helps to push out this content to additional people, to more people. And when you subscribe, that's even better. But please, like and subscribe. We're really trying to grow this channel. That beep was our 10 minutes. Our 10 minutes are up. I'm gonna clear that so it doesn't continue to beep. Next, we're going to get our custard and we're going to put it into our slightly cooled tart shell. All right, we're going to reintroduce this into the oven for 10 minutes. And then we're going to be lowering that temperature, remember, to 325 degrees, which is approximately 163 degrees Celsius. And at that point, we're gonna bake it for an additional, on top of the 10 minutes, we're gonna bake it for an additional 25 to 30 minutes. However, as our 25 minutes starts to come up, we wanna go ahead and check because we want to make sure that we only want it to be just set. So once we can insert a toothpick into the center and it comes out clean, that means it's time to pull it out of the oven and allow it to cool. Once you're allowing it to cool, you definitely want to let it cool for at least 1 hour before you serve it. So at least 1 hour, preferably longer, but at least 1 hour. We'll be back in 25 to 30 minutes. Our time has elapsed and I have pulled our tart out of the oven, our dark chocolate pumpkin tart. It's been pulled out of the oven. Now, it's imperative that you allow this to sit for at least, well, for 1 hour. You want to allow this to sit for 1 hour in the pan before you take it out of the pan and before you serve it. You're wanting that additional hour because you want that residual heat to continue to cook that custard so that it will be perfectly cooked, not overcooked, but perfectly cooked. So again, our time has elapsed. I've pulled it out of the oven. I'm allowing it to sit here and it's going to cool on the counter for 1 hour in the pan. I'm not removing it from the pan. I want to keep all that residual heat, and I want it to continue to allow that custard just to finish cooking so that we have the perfect creamy yet firm custard for our tart, as well as to give another thanks to the Inquisitive Farm Wife for hosting this collaboration of Pumpkin Palooza 2025. First, if you have someone in your household that is not a pumpkin pie lover, this pumpkin tart may just change their mind. However, if you have someone in your household that maybe isn't a fan of dark chocolate, some people find it bitter. Not a problem. As I said earlier, just substitute the dark chocolate cocoa powder that's unsweetened of course, with a regular unsweetened cocoa powder. You still will have a luxurious dessert. It just won't quite have that chocolatey punch that the dark chocolate does provide. I did pair this with a bourbon whipped cream, which elevated it to just another level. This is an absolutely fantastic dessert, and it just turned out so well. Just get a little bit of that cream. Don't want to talk with my mouth full. Everyone who had this dessert last night raved about it. And one of them doesn't like pumpkin pie. The other one loves pumpkin pie. So to those that love pumpkin pie, and to those who don't love pumpkin pie, this dark chocolate pumpkin tart was a major hit. Therefore, I'm going to be closing out my contribution to Pumpkin Palooza 2025, reminding you to please like, subscribe, and share, because this truly helps the channel and it helps push the content out to more people.
Remember, your kitchen is your passport to the world, allowing you to explore diverse cultures and cuisines right from home as you explore new flavors and techniques. And as always, bon appetit.